So we got another busy week in the shop. We've got a Maverick that we got to do some work on. We're going to be trying to get the engine and stuff figured out on that, motor plate wise. We've got a Mercury Capri that we're going to be building a turbo kit for, so that should be pretty cool. And then we got a surprise coming out for the shop car, so something we've been wanting for a while, and a little bit on the F100. So let's get to it.
You're watching the Vasco Speed and Performance YouTube channel.
Well, back on the F100, we're going to work on the exhaust tips some more this week, and we're going to work on installing the vintage air. Vintage air showed up for this thing, so it's one of those things that's going to take a little bit of time to get it all figured out, but we're going to be putting vintage air in this baby and getting some ice cold air blowing out. Well, that's the way the air knobs ended up coming out for the vintage air. Originally, as you saw before, I had my parking brake button here, and it looked so cool, and I was so happy with it, and then I come to find out I had to move it, and that kind of made me nervous because I wasn't for sure if I was going to be able to reuse the sticker that it came with. So not a big deal, but went ahead and got that installed, so that part's done. It looks pretty clean there. They had an option where you could put it right here. My issue with it is like, then you got to reach all the way over here, plus you've got a shifter. I don't know, it just seemed better there. So went ahead and installed that there, and since I did that, I had to move the parking brake, so I moved it over to right here. So actually a pretty decent spot. It's kind of out of the way, and there was already a hole a lot bigger than that right there, so I had to drill that out and make it a little bit bigger. But these were for like trim pieces or something that went on the dash that somebody got rid of, so not a big deal, but it actually looks good there, and it's kind of out of the way. So I thought about putting it where the wipers or something go, but it's just like, let's just leave that the way it is and kind of go that route. So okay, so one thing that these F100s have a problem with is the frame on them's very like flimsy. So the customer and I talked. I don't think he's gonna road race it. He said he might, but if he does, we kind of want to stiffen the frame up. So one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make something to stiffen this frame up, but make it removable, not welded on. So what we're actually gonna do is I'm gonna design a bracket that'll bolt on to this bracket here. And then I'm gonna make another one that'll bolt onto where these two bolts are at, and I'm gonna X the frame. So I am gonna draw one up, cut it out, and we'll see how it fits. Okay, we're making pretty good progress on the AC. I had to do some different things with the lines the way they wanted them, because this line actually, they wanted the radiator to be moved back so the condenser could fit in there, and with the piping and everything, I really couldn't move it, so I just had to lower it down and do some trimming. Made it work, but this line here I had to do a little bit of bending to make it work the way I wanted it to. And then this fitting here actually is the one of the other fittings. So I've got the lines from the compressor to up here to make, and that's what I have this tool for. So this is a AC hose crimper. So I figured if I'm going to be doing a lot of vintage air, we might as well have this tool. So I've got it. So I'm going to film crimping some lines, see how it's done. So this tool is pretty nice. It's pretty simple. You literally just close that, put your pin in there, clamp it down, and hydraulically pump the pump, and it crimps it. The only thing that's kind of confusing is the first time I tried to crimp it, if you look at this, it says this one's a 9. And then it says this one's a 10. So the first time I tried to crimp it with the 10, and the 10 did not work. So then I ended up finding that there is a 10 SRB. So this one actually worked, and the purple 10 did not. So just a learning process. Okay, so you can see this is where the one line comes through and the other one comes up from condenser. It goes up here. You have your ports so you can charge them. And then there's the other one, and this one comes from here. And these two are the ones that we had to crimp. So we had to crimp that fitting there and that fitting there. So they both go down, and then they loop up, go to the compressor, go through the condenser, and then they come back through here and run up right up along there. So on Tracy's truck, we got the X-brace made. That is the X-brace there. So that should help stiffen up the chassis. We got that done. All that's left is to finish the exhaust tip, which we changed our mind on it. We think we're going to do a 4-inch. We're going to do a 3.5-inch or a 3-inch. And then we got to get it tuned. We got pretty much the AC knocked out. So we're down to a few items on this thing and it should be ready to rock and roll. Okay, so we have Zach's car here. He is the owner of this beautiful Maverick. And we are going to be doing some ladder bars on it. And we're also going to be putting the engine and transmission and motor plate in it, along with a whole bunch of other stuff, chassis, all that stuff. But we want to get the engine in there for the drivetrain angle, so we're going to work on that. He has a big block Ford. We have an oil pan, we have mid plate, motor plate, and we have a power glide. So we're going to try and stab that in. However, the front of this car has been converted to a Mustang 2 front end, and it's kind of questionable the way they did it, but it works, I guess. They also did some interesting shimming of the rack, and he wanted to kind of eliminate that. So we're going to try to stab the motor in here and see how it goes. As you saw, the motor did not go in as well as we were hoping, as Matthew picks his nose. Basically, I don't know what you'd call it, the bar they welded in to stabilize the two frame rails at the bottom. It was not like a K-member, but just like a piece of tube that they kind of welded in there. Anyways, it's up too high and the rack is too high. So in order to get this engine in here, we're gonna have to cut the middle of it out, which he wanted to do that anyways. And we're gonna have to figure out how low it needs to go. So step one is gonna be removing the rack and then cutting the center section out. We're gonna have to devise some sort of a system to hold it, because I have a feeling that we cut the middle out, the lower control arms are gonna wanna like spring outwards. So we're gonna have to figure out something to keep them from doing that. So, but let's look at what we're talking about on the rack situation. Okay, here's what we're talking about. So this is just pretty much like some square tubing for frame rails up front. You get older cars, they did some stuff like that, so it is what it is. And somebody has put Mustang 2 front suspension on it. The frame rail actually kicks back over here. I think they did that for the rack. But you can see where the factory frame rail was, and then the new ones they just welded on top. It's on there. I don't know how great, but it's on there. So yeah, that's there. But you can see what they did with their to get their rack on here. They just, welded some angle iron on there, shoved some aluminum spacers in between it, and call it a day. Should be good to go. Well, it's not good to go, so that's all going to be coming out of there. So Matthew's going to work on getting that rack out. Okay, so we have one cylinder head on and one header on, and it pushes the engine over so far. I just don't foresee this header situation or the front suspension situation working on this. So probably gonna have to contact the customer and go back to the drawing board. This header is literally hitting over here on that, and it has to go down below all of that. Even then, I think the engine could probably come down a little more, but with the headers on there, you can't. So I'm not sure what he's going to want to do. So I guess it's time to contact the customer. Another new car at the shop, which we've also worked on in the past. So this is Ethan's Mercury Capri, and it is a T-top car, which is cool. Mercury Capris are the same thing as a Fox body. It's just they did some different quarters and fenders, and the front end's a little bit different. It's got some different taillights on it, but really a cool car. So he's had this thing since he was in high school. We put a more race chassis cage in it. So that's how the cage looks in there. Pretty cool. One of the things is with this bar here, we had to have it come down lower like this, because if you had it up higher, I should say, you can't get the T-tops out. And he was very adamant about wanting the T-tops to be able to come out. So we had to lower that bar down to make that work. Ethan's rocking the beautiful weld wheels up front and in the rear. this is something we don't normally see a lot. This is a conventional small block Ford. I don't know the cubic inches. I don't know what power it's going to make, but we're building a turbo kit for this. So this should be a fun one. Ethan's done a lot of really cool stuff to this car. Last time we saw it, the frame rails were rusted out. He replaced the frame rails himself. He painted the engine bay himself, did a killer job on it. I mean, I don't do paint and body, but I have a lot of respect for people that do. But yeah, the crown jewel though is this engine. This thing is just beautiful. So he went and got stainless works headers for it. You've got great plug access on it, super nice. He went and got the Motion Raceworks valve covers. A lot of people complain and say that these valve covers are expensive. They are, but there's a reason they're expensive. You have to realize this valve cover is a giant chunk of billet. I mean, you're talking a piece of aluminum that's, 4 inches by probably 4 inches, but what, 13 inches long, something like that. And then they mill it out. And so out of the original brick of aluminum, you're only dealing with probably, I'm guessing 20-30% of what you started with. So there's a lot of waste that goes into making these, but they're just a beautiful, great product. So huge fan of the Motion Racework valve covers. They usually have a nice screw-on cap, which is good because if a lot of the aftermarket companies just have a push-in and then it'll blow out with boost. They also have a pretty cool design where you can put different caps for your breathers, which is a super nice deal. And on the bottom side, they generally have a nice baffling system too. So shout out to Motion Raceworks for another great product. Also, it has a shear fab elbow, a Maven throttle body bracket, and it's got the Motion Raceworks Icon throttle body with the Van Jang clamp on it. So these are another cool product that Motion Raceworks came out with. Ethan wanted to use some more of these, so he actually went and bought, I believe they're Vibrant. So we're going to be putting some Vibrant ones on it. And he's got a 5-inch on-3 air-to-air intercooler that we're going to be putting on this thing. So let's get to work. Okay, so we had to modify the driver's side motor mount on Ethan's car because the engine was not setting level. He didn't have a whole lot of clearance on this side with the header, so what he did was he just scooched it over. By scooching it over, it just rocked the engine. So we ended up modifying this header or motor mount some and made it work so that the engine is level now. Okay, so we're working on Ethan's turbo kit, and we are going to be mounting this intercooler. So you saw us measuring out everything. Ethan's very particular about this car, and he doesn't want to cut it up. So he wants to try and utilize all these like factory holes. I told him it shouldn't be a big deal. He was okay with us using nut certs. So I designed this bracket here, and this will go on here, and I left some adjustments so you can move it side to side. Also, this slot right here, we're going to put a 90-degree bend on this, and then the intercooler mount to that. So this will give you some play side to side, and then this will give you side to side movement there, and we can center it up, make sure it's perfect. The other side, he has this tag here, and so we're trying to stay around that tag, so we went ahead and made this bracket. So this one's only 4 inches wide, where this one was 5 inches. So same bracket, just a little bit narrower to keep this tab here. Okay, so we're going to put this V-banded housing on Ethan's turbo, and unfortunately the distance for the wheel and the distance for the exhaust housing are not the correct size, so this needs to be bigger. If you look, we'll slightly do this. So we're doing this very gently so we don't hit any of those, but you can kind of see how it hits the impeller wheels hit in there. Whereas when we do this one, the one that came on it, it has like clearance in there so you can spin. So we're gonna have to get with Ethan and figure out what to do on that. Probably get a different housing or whatever. But this is the joys of building race cars. You can think you have everything right 100 times, and no matter what, it'll come back and show its ugly face at you. But we got the intercooler mounted. It has some adjustability, which is nice. Ethan came over and looked at it. He has the Van Jan clamps for it, but they won't fit in here. So what I talked about last night with him, we're just going to weld a piece of pipe onto it and then have the clamp out here so we can solve that issue. We're going to have to pull the headers off, cut those down, put V-bands on them. He said something about getting EGT probes, so we're going to have to weld those on. Everything's going to get tight in here really, really quick, but we need to get the turbo mounted. But since the exhaust housing is wrong on that, it's not a huge deal. We can still mount the turbo, but it would be nice to have it all together. So I'm gonna get with him and kind of see what he wants to do there. But in the meantime, we will work on getting the bumper fit and the pipes on the intercooler. So we just cut out this right here to make clearance for the intercooler, and we're still a mile away. So we're probably just gonna have to cut this out completely. It might actually end up going up to here, but we'll kind of have to just do some more cutting to make it work. So as we were putting this thing back together, there was already a hairline crack here, but it finished itself off. So that's always a fun, exciting thing. So we're going to have to probably put a brace across here and put some glue on it, and then we can put the grill back in. But we were able to get the bumper to clear. It is tighter than tight in there, but everything goes and clears, so I think it'll end up working out pretty good. Well, we have the bumper on Ethan's car, and it actually looks really, really pretty good. I'm pretty excited about that. So this had a hairline crack in it. I ended up putting a piece of metal in there and put some screws in to help support it, and you could always go back and like bondo it over and do some stuff to make it not as noticeable, but that works. Went ahead and got these brackets in. Intercooler is centered, and Ethan wanted to keep this original, so he's like, hey, I want to be able to take this off, and I want to be able to put it back stock if it ever needed to be. So we have a factory nut zert in here. We added a nut zert to an existing hole here. Same with this factory hole, and we added a nut zert there. We wanted to keep this tag on here, so we actually made our bracket a little bit more narrow. So there are the different brackets for each location, but that was because he wanted to be able to go back stock. So that was one of the things. Also, I don't know if you can see in here, but right here is where your hood latch comes, and there's about an inch clearance there, which is good. And then you can actually see the intercooler right in there. There's supposed to be a piece of metal to help hold this up like that. So we had to take that out, and there's nothing to attach it. So he might just like bond a piece of aluminum to it to make that flat and look good. But yeah, we got the engine leveled out. That took a little bit of finagling. Had to modify this motor mount and then had to shim that one. Got that to work. He ordered EGT probes, so they should have those soon. We're going to cut back this header, put a V-band on there. But that being said, let's go ahead and lift it up and see how the bottom side looks. So we went ahead and added new J-nuts into all of these locations to hold the bumper on, and put bolts in them. And then the bracketry, so that's the lower bracket. You can see when I pull the bumper down. And so there's one there, there's one there. Again, both brackets are different due to the holes in the vehicle, but the intercooler fits in there really, really nicely. Nice and level, fits the bumper. Didn't have to cut the bumper. That was his biggest thing. He's like, I don't want to cut the bumper up. And you get a Mustang, you end up having to like cut most of this out most of the time. And we also had to keep the factory crash bar because he wanted to utilize the turn signals. So there was a little bit of a challenge to get this to work, but we ended up making it all work. He also bought, let me see if I got one over here. These are all Ethan's parts. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is right here. I think he's waiting for me to talk, then he starts using the impact. He also bought these Van Jan clamps, and these are new ones from Vibrant. They're actually really pretty cool. I'm gonna press pause, open it up, and I'll show them to you. Okay, so these are the new clamps from Vibrant. So it's got this quick clip deal. So you press this pin, and then you push this down, and then this opens. And then it's also spring loaded, so it'll close back for you. And then you have this deal here, and there's two O-rings over there. I don't have them on there, but the two O-rings go on this. And the cool thing is it gives you some movement, and it still holds all the boosts in. So pretty cool product. I like that they revised it, because they're honestly, as a fabricator, I love these. I think they're cool, but as a fabricator, I hate these because they're a pain in the butt to put together most of the time. You'll put like grease on them, and then it'll slide one way, slide the other way, and it just makes it kind of a pain in the butt. But nevertheless, they're a pretty cool product. And you're not going to have them blowing off, which is nice. But yeah, pretty cool deal. Okay, so where I was going with these fancy clamps is up in there is your intercooler end. Well, the problem is this won't fit in there. You can't fit this clamp in there. One, you can't even get it loose. So came up with the idea. I told Ethan, I said, why don't we just do this? Why don't we just make a tube welded to the end of the intercooler? So that's what we've done. So we just welded the tube to the end, and it comes out to here, and then you have the clamp with easily accessible. And then this pipe comes up to here, and you can go from there. So that's kind of what we came up with. We'll end up doing the same thing on the other side, and it should all work out. So it's been a while since I've done an update on the old shop car. So today we have a cool surprise. My buddy Troy's coming down. So he has a race shop up north of Kansas City called Henderson Race Shop. They do a lot of fabrication and stuff like that. So he's really tech savvy. So him and I are going to be teaming up and working on cages. So we're going to scan the shop car, and we're going to get a 3D model of it, and we're going to design a cage 100% in CAD. So he's on his way. So when he gets here, we've got a surprise for the shop that we've needed for a while, and we've got to scan the Mustang. So let's see when he gets here. Last you saw, I think we patched this rusty panel. Maybe you didn't see that, but we did that. We started cutting the wheel tubs out. We got some of that done, and just kind of got stopped because we were moving shops. So we're going to start back up on this thing. Actually, I think today we have a pretty cool project friend collaboration with another local shop. My buddy Troy's going to come down, and so I don't want to ruin it, but we're going to do some really cool stuff with this. So stay tuned on our Mustang. We haven't given up. And I'm not for sure I've even told anybody the power plant. I don't think I did. If I didn't, well, here it is. So like I said, I wanted to do something different, and this is different for me. So voila. Yep, we are going to be putting a Coyote in it. So we're going to do obviously turbos and a Coyote. So if you're into Coyotes and turbos, stick to the channel, because you're going to get to see the full build on this baby. So this is Troy. Troy, say hi. So Troy owns Henderson race car fab chassis. What do you call it?
Henderson Race Shop.
Henderson Race Shop. And you're out of Trimble, Missouri, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So we met a couple years back at like a streetcar takeover, and we just kind of been talking back and forth and bouncing ideas off each other. And so yeah, he does a lot of chassis work, and so he has a really cool technology that we're going to do. We're going to 3D scan the shop car, and we're going to design a cage off of it in CAD. So we're going to document this, and you guys can come along for the ride. So appreciate you coming down, Troy. Troy also brought this down. So this is our new chassis table. So it was his old chassis table that he didn't use anymore because he built a fancy one. So yeah, so I got that, and so we are going to probably put some cars on that and start doing some stuff. But yeah, let's get to taking the windshield out of this thing. Yeah, we're going to pull the windshield out of it.
Okay, maybe we can get along
with or without breaking it.
Well, if it breaks, but I've got this tool, and it says it's for windshields.
Oh boy.
We got to figure out how to get the trim off, so. that's going to do it for this episode. So I appreciate everybody coming by the channel, checking it out. We're going to keep trying to come out with more and more content. We got some more content on the boat coming up, so that'll be probably in the next episode, and everything else in the shop that's going. So we got some more cars coming out this week. But yeah, appreciate everybody coming by the channel. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.